Hello and welcome to another edition of Scale JDM Reviews. And on today's episode you can see that we have the Fujimi Mines Lancer Evolution 5. Now for those of you who don't know Mines, Mines is a Japanese tuning garage, very famous for their tuning capabilities, keeping the car looking standard but enhancing everything underneath. So I mean, even look at the screenshot of this car, you've got just basically a standard Evo 5 there. With some decals and that's about it, but obviously all the magic is happening underneath, so different suspension, different engine modifications, obviously ECU tuning and things like that. I have reviewed the R33, the Mines R33 in a previous episode on my channel here, so if you want to go and have a look at that, please do. On this one, of course, we are looking at this kit. So let's have a quick look around the box. This is a standard Fujimi box from it's one of the Millennium series, I think. Yes, it is, which denotes that it was released around about the year 2000. They did several kits under the Millennium motif. As you can see, you have the decals there, and a couple of screenshots. So, well, yeah, a screenshot of the car. Everything else around the box is pretty standard. Obviously, all the paint codes, I think they're Mr. Hobby ones. Possibly tell you what you need to make the kit. Alright, so shall we see what's inside? Alright, so we have the instructions in a couple of pages, nothing massive there. We have some aftermarket advertising parts, so different exhaust pipes. These are metal, I think, if I remember correctly. And we have another leaflet denoting all the other cars that are currently available from Fujimi when the kit was released. Of course, this sort of changed. This sort of changed in the last few years, I think, considering the kit's 23 years old. And then we have the pièce de resistance, the actual kit. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be building this kit. This has actually been sold. I've sold this on to a friend of mine, Justin Stokes, and he will be receiving this kit next week so he can enjoy the build himself. But before I let it go, obviously I said to him I'd like to do the review on the kit, which he was more than happy to do, of course. And so here we are. So let's leave the decals till last, because we'll get those out. However, just take you through some basics. There are two sets of wheels in this. You have the T37s and I think what are standard Evo wheels in there. I haven't actually had this out of the packet, so I don't know. The rest of the kit looks fairly standard. You do have an extra set of seats, muffler, steering wheel, things like that, but we will go through those in a bit more detail shortly. But as in tradition, let's get rid of all the plastic wrapping, and there we go. So what I've done is I've moved the box to the side so we have a nice clear space to have a look at these parts. The first sprue we'll look at is the black one, and if you've had the Nismo GTR kit from Fujimi, you will recognise this particular sprue because this is the one they use for the GTR. So technically we don't need any of this. We don't need any of this, although you could use the Momo steering wheel and the quick shifter if it'll fit on in the interior bit. But they give you the two extra seats to give it a bit more of a racing feel compared to the originals, although the originals are fairly bucket-like anyway. But yeah, other than that, you can't really use that's a GTR rear wing, but you could use the muffler technically. And next we have the glass sprue. We can see obviously the canopy is one piece. There is slightly faded out sections that you'll need to paint black. What we have on here also is the fog lights, the backlights, the front lights, and the center section of the backlights. These fog lights down here, you won't need this in this particular build, so we will ignore those. So straight onto the first of the two white sprues. First thing we have is the interior tub, which is fairly standard. That's not just a lack of detail by Fujimi, that probably is exactly how it is in the Mines Evo, because they are standard cars with just a few specific modifications to make them into animals. So we have the two number plates, you've got the rear window wiper there, you've got the rear brakes and suspension setup, the front brakes and suspension setup, the dashboard, and you have two different inserts right there for the dashboard. You can see there's a little cutout just there. So you can either have a head unit or you can have dials and things. We have the handbrake, the steering column, and the two-piece rear spoiler, plus two very nice bucket seats, which, to be honest, compared to the ones in the GTR kit, if you would prefer to use those, They're both actually quite nice. I do prefer, I think, the Evo ones. There's not much difference in the two. I think the GTR ones are slightly wider. That's about it. And of course you have two different steering wheels just here. Again, I think I'd probably do with the Momo one off the Nismo sprue. And last but not least, we have the second white sprue, and you can see straight away we have the car's front mounted intercooler, which is a standard item. It's a shame they didn't have more detail, because the standard Evos come with a water spray that comes on the front that you spray water into your intercooler. I had an Evo 1, a GSR Evo many years ago, and it had that exact setup. It was actually pretty cool because it worked, which was awesome. It just cools down the intercooler a bit more, especially when it's in hot weather. So you have the exhaust all the way through to the back. You have the steering column, and you've got part of the undercarriage there. This is going to be the front subframe, the side mirrors, part of the rear subframe just there, the front windscreen wipers. This is going to be for the inside cutouts on the bonnet. So this will be what you see when you look through the bonnet. Technically, you don't need to put those on. You could just put some mesh or something to give it a bit more realism, so that's not technically needed. And then we have the chassis, which is typical Fujimi, and I'm pretty sure they would use this on several of the Evo kits, if I'm not surprised. You have a standard rear axle that goes through there. I'm surprised that this one does have steering, because the GTR didn't. I don't know why Fujimi decided to do the GTR without steering, but at least they added it to this one. You've got obviously the prop shaft and everything, the differentials, but not really much in the way of a detailed undercarriage there. There are plenty of people that do aftermarket engines, which you could then cut out this section and put a Pro engine in it, which would look very nice, to be fair. Okay, next up is the body. And voila, there we go. You see the cutouts for those the part on the other sprue there. The body is actually very nice. It's quite nicely proportioned, and it's got quite a lot of detail, to be fair. There's not any flash or anything on it at all. Just looking for the print lines. There are some that we'd have to get rid of. They've got it literally on the edge of the fenders there. But other than that, yeah, no, it's very nicely detailed, if I'm honest. Okay, right, we're on to the wheels. So the kit comes with two sets of wheels. One clearly has tyres and one clearly doesn't. I'm guessing these are the original kit wheels that come with the car. Standard 6-spoke. You've got some inserts there, I'm guessing, for the wing mirrors, and also an exhaust tip just there. But what we have in here are T37s, if I'm not mistaken, and they are kit standard. They're not kit standard, sorry. They come with the tyres, and you've got the rear axle just there and the poly caps. I'm not gonna pull these out of the packet. I don't see any reason to. There is also spacers that you can put on the back wheels, for example, to make them a bit more staggered. Okay, and that leads me up until the next part, which is this. This is that. So this is mesh, and this would basically go. Didn't want to do that. This would basically go into these parts here, across the front, across the grille, across the air intakes there, and like I said, you can actually put it under here as well to cover that in. I'm pretty sure there's enough mesh just there. It's quite a big mesh. I'm pretty sure you can find an aftermarket one that's a bit thinner through and make it a little bit more realistic, but they're giving you a nice cardboard backing, so it keeps it nice and straight, which is good thinking by Fujimi. So here we are, the decals, and through age these are slightly yellowed. You can see that on these bits, but it doesn't really affect the mines because the mines don't have a white backing on them. They're transparent, which is good. Evolution 4 is looking a little bit yellow on the back, but we'll just go through this quickly. So you have 3 large mines decals, 2 for the side, 1 is for the bonnet, which is why that one is slightly smaller. You have the interior gauges and the centre section, which will go over unless you want to paint it, that separate centre section for the dashboard. And mine's Motorsport, and then another Evolution 5 sticker, slightly different Evolution 5 sticker, and then again 2 more slightly different ones. A couple of Recaro stickers there, the Mines stripes, and a couple of Mines alternate logos. We got 2 Mines number plates plus 2 number plates that you can customise whichever letters you want, numbers you want on them. A couple more Evolution 5 stickers, and you have a couple of window stickers just there, and that's pretty much about it. And of course, that now leads us on to the instructions. As always, they give you a list of all the parts at the bottom. The greyed out areas you see here and here are not to be used, so discard them, use them for another project or something. Obviously all the warnings and everything they give with their crazy diagrams, which is awesome. So we go to the first page, you have a readout of the decals and where to put them and how to paint everything. Going on to the first bit, which is always how to create the brakes and the front suspension. And you can see it's a pretty simple process. Just a couple of poly caps and some little stubby bits, job done. Add the tyres, add them both to the chassis, and then start at the top. Start at the top of the next page for the rear side, doing exactly the same. Putting the exhaust pipe over the top once they're in, and the exhaust tip, which I'm guessing was off the sprue for the original alloys. And then we have the centre section, the dashboard. As you can see, it's saying to you use that one. Although I don't know why they've included two, because I guess one's for a rally version of the Fujimi kit, because they're asking you to put the head unit version in, which is kind of a standard item for a road car. Obviously you've got a decal there for the centre section of the steering wheel. And then we come on to the interior tub, which is the standard gearbox. You could modify the quick shifter gearbox bit to go in there instead, which would probably give it a nice little edge. Handbrake, the seats, and then you mount it to the chassis along with that front mount intercooler. Like I said, if you want to put like a bit of thin silver wire or copper wire or something in front of that, give it a little bit more realism, just because of its cold water cooling that you can use. There's a button on the dash to spray. Next we have the glass. You see it's been pre-painted in this one. You've got the mirror, and then you have all the headlights, number plates, yada yada, just kind of standard bits like that going in. So yeah, you should have enough mesh for that. Like I said, if you can find a thinner mesh, it would look a little bit more realistic. Then you have the rear spoiler, two-piece, rear windscreen wiper, and then the rear lights. And nicely down here, they're giving you a template, so you can actually cut the actual size you need by laying over this and then literally drawing, or even I guess you can cut this bit out and then cut that section out, cut the actual bits out and then lay them over your bit, then do the cutting again. Then you get the proper size. That's a nice little idea. So then you just attach the chassis to then you just attach the chassis to the body shell and you are done. It's overall a very, very simple kit. With a few nice little custom modifications, but technically the only thing that makes this a Mines car in my eyes is the decals. So there we have it, the review of the Mines Lance Revo 5 from Fujimi. It is a nice kit. It is a bit basic. I think my honest opinion is that Fujimi just took a standard Evo kit and added Mines decals, which was very easy because obviously, as I said before, Mines do not really do anything to the external appearance of the cars apart from the decals. So it's an easy cop out technically, but there are a couple of aftermarket parts in there that you can add to it to make it a little bit more detailed and a fun little build. But it will make a clean car. That's the thing. It's not going to be odd shaped. It's not going to have loads of flash or stuff that you need to kind of pre-prepare before you start painting and stuff. It's a good solid kit, and if you had the opportunity to buy the Mines one, would you? No, I would say yeah, do it. Why not? Even just for those beautiful decals. But yes, it will make a nice builder once it's up. So just in when you get the kit, enjoy. So as a final note, thanks for watching as always. If you've not subscribed, please hit that button below, and I'll see you again on the next review from Scale Jetty Reviews. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.